they walked to Beirut. My mom had a mule. She rode it part of the way and she walked part of the way because riding a mule is not that comfortable. From Beirut, they took a steamer to Marseille through the Mediterranean. In Marseille, a train to Paris, and my mother remembers going up what may have been the Eiffel Tower, because she said she could see the whole city there, from Paris to Le Havre, and from Le Havre to New York. New York was not the only port that people landed at. There were many ports. People sometimes didn't know where they were going, not the Kfeirians, but other immigrants didn't know where they were going until they got there. Jim Aberesk wrote this in his book about his father. His father came to New York, got on the train, the ticket had been prepaid, and he went as far as the train would take him, which was Winter, South Dakota. He got off of the train, it was practically an Indian reservation, and he made his way there very, very successfully. Sometimes you didn't know where you were going. There were ticket agents who roamed Europe, ticket agents for the steamship companies, for the railroad companies, and they just simply sold tickets. When my mom landed in New York, she had about $22 left, because that's recorded on the immigration status. So that was the way that you came. One other thing, in Kfeir, the Druze were primarily farmers, and the Christians were primarily people who were merchants. So it was very easy for the Kfeirians to come to this country and become peddlers. Many of them became peddlers. They built their own boxes, they strapped it onto their back, they bought things in the city, and they walked out to the country, which was terrific at the time because people didn't have transportation, and when you lived in the country, you were glad to be able to buy something. There were no taxes, so it was a great way to accumulate money, and the prime purpose for the first people to have money is to bring over their family, so send money back. And that's how my mom came, because her older brother had sent money back, to buy the passage. So anyway, when you look at some of the early commemorative booklets, and you see all of the ads, there are so many ads where our Kfeirian family is in business. Yes, all kinds of business. So anyway, very good.
Thank you. Yes.
I'd like to say one more thing that wasn't mentioned. Number one, the Kfeirians who came over here and didn't have the proper paperwork were always welcome in Canada. A lot of them went to Canada, and I had an uncle, and many of you people had relatives that went to South America. And Sao Paulo, Brazil, has a whole neighborhood of Kfeirians. We have, my family has 30 or 40 Jamra families that have a reunion every year in Sao Paulo. And the last thing is, when it became very difficult to fly out of Beirut or take a boat, Julian, correct me if I'm wrong, they would leave from Damascus. Damascus became one of the main cities to get over here with. But a lot of these Kfeirians that went to Canada, Prince Edward Island and so forth, or went to Brazil, raised families and stayed there. We do have a lot of Kfeirians in Canada and South America because of that reason.
My grandmother's folks are there. Well, before I wrap, if you're connected to the Saad family in any way, and your roots are there, would you stand, please? Did we do that right? Thank you. And I think I missed the Hanna family. They might not want to stand up, George. It might be recorded. But I know there are Hannas here. Are you standing up, Hannas? Your wife went out. Oh, there she is, hiding over there. So what do you think? Was this fun to hear the stories? Let's hear it. So this is the first chapter. If you enjoyed this, and there are many family names that were not said today, there are many more of us, we'd like to do this again. Would you think that'd be interesting to hear your family story told? Thank you. Well, see me or any member of the board and we will make a note of that. I wanted to end with one last thing. America is made of many, many pieces. We know that. You look around this room and we're not all exactly the same. But the doors of this country were made open because and benefited our families. I remember that when I see people having trouble getting jobs and getting into this country today. This is not a political statement. But I think it's very important to remember that our first families talked funny. They looked funny. They were poor. They were not educated. But through their hard work and their courage and their desire to have freedom for their families, they created you. So when you look into the mirror, I think we should remember that we all are part of a long journey. And let's make room for everybody. God bless America. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.